Okay. Let's look at this one. Is this problem just like that last one? Do you see a difference? I do. A plus B,
B.
A minus B, and B minus A. So here's what I've got to do. I want to make them look alike. I'm going to choose this one because it's alphabetical order. That's just more pleasing to the eye, I guess. You know, it's just looks better to me. I want this one to have a positive A like this one. I want this one to have a negative B like this one. How do you change the signs of everything? You can multiply or divide by a negative 1. So if I, instead of having a positive or negative 19, if I have a positive 19, if I factor out a negative 1 with this negative 19, what's negative 19 times negative 1? Positive 19. That's going to make my A positive and my B negative. So it's just going to change the signs. But look at that. Okay, look at it carefully. When you see a problem like that, you say, wait a minute, that's almost alike. Well, is everything exactly the opposite of what I wanted it to be? Yeah. Okay. When everything is exactly the opposite of the way I wanted it to be, I put a negative 1 with it, and I just change it around. Now does it look like what we just did? Now, do I need a dummy variable? I would let x equal what?
C.
A minus B.
A minus b. So now I would have 16x plus 19x. What would that give me?
35.
But what would that really be?
35, A minus B.
So if I'm thinking about yesterday, I'm thinking about let's factor out a common factor. Okay? Let's look at this a little differently. Okay? I see a common factor. I see A minus B. You taught me yesterday, if I've got a greatest common factor, I factor that out, and I write in parentheses what's left. Except it looks weird to have numbers over here on the right, doesn't it? Looks weird. All right, so this 35, I'm going to let it be first. That's two different methods of looking at the same problem. Dummy variable or greatest common factor, or like you might have seen, distributive property, combine like terms, factor now. Okay? Do you find this one? Is there a greatest common factor? Can I factor a 16 out of everything? What about an A?
No.
A B? A 19? There's nothing that's common to all four. Y'all agree?
Yes.
Okay. And so when there's 4 or more terms, our second rule of factoring says you have to use grouping. You have to group things together that are alike. You say, well, I could see by variable, I could group these A's and B's. Or if I'm looking at it by numbers, I could group the 16s and the 19s. And you won't miss it whichever way you choose to do it. Okay? For example, I'm going to do it by the numbers first. Uh-oh. You do it 2 different ways. You can pick which way you like. I just want you to be able to recognize and see things. So if I'm factoring out a common factor with just these two, I've grouped these and I've grouped those. Okay? So what would be common here? The 16. Okay, if I factor a 16 out of here, that leaves me with an A. If I factor a 16 out of here, it leaves me with a B. What's common over here?
19.
We're going to get messed up right here. Now, be really careful because you have to write a sign right here. Am I going to factor out a positive 19 or a negative 19?
It's 0. Wait, positive. Like
Positive because it already negative, right?
Let's try a positive. Let's try the positive. Alright, so the 19s cancel and I've got a B. The 19s cancel, I've got a negative A. This is exactly the opposite of what I wanted. So instead of a positive 19, what could have happened there?
put a negative.
I could have put a negative 19 here. and a negative 19 here. And what would that do? It'd make B what?
Positive.
Yeah.
Negative.
Negative. It would make A
Positive.
positive. Is that what I wanted?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to take another step here and make it look like what I want it to look like.
Oh yeah.
Now, what is common to here and to here? Think about a dummy variable. We could let X represent
A minus B.
A minus B. Alright? So if I factor out a A minus B, what have I got left?
16 plus 19.
-3.
16 minus 19, which is negative 3. Do you want me to write it over here? Or do you want me to write it over here?
Like
Right there.
that.
I like that better.
Is
Is this wrong? No, it's not.
No.
Because remember, the distributive property can have the number in the front or in the back. Okay.
Is it okay if once we got 16 A minus B minus 19 A minus B, if we just didn't factor out A minus B on both of them and just did it
Because why?
because it's faster and simpler?
Yeah, but why can you do that? It's true. But why can you do that?
Because they're the same.
They're like
And
terms.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is, if you see 16 of them and minus 19 of them, can you go straight to here? Sure. Because you're seeing like terms. You may even use that dummy variable I showed you earlier. Okay.
How does your A and B carry over still if they cancel?
They didn't. The A minus B, when I factored it out as a common factor. Remember yesterday when I put that common factor out front? That's what I was doing there. But he's saying, what if you skip this step right here and you just say, okay, I got 16 of them minus 19 of them, that gives me negative 3 of them. That's really where I want you to get to, where you can just see that and just combine them together.
I did like 16B plus 19B. I got 3B and then negative 3A.
Okay, I'm gonna do it that way. I told you I'd try to do it both ways. All right, so 16A minus 19A, and then a positive 19B and a negative 16B. This would give you what? Negative 3A. And this would give you what? Positive 3B. All right, I'm really glad you reminded me to do it this way. What's common to both of those?
3.
3. Well, what about the negative? You know, it's really weird to see a problem with a leading coefficient. What's the leading coefficient? The one that comes first, right? So it's really weird to see a problem with a negative out front. So a lot of times a book will give the answer like this. They'll factor out a negative 3, and that'll leave you with A minus B. But if you factored out a positive 3, you'd have negative A plus B. You know what? You'd both be right. If what you get on your paper is exactly the opposite signs of what they have in the back of the book, like everything is a different sign, you're both right. You see how this is negative but that's positive, this is positive but that's negative, this is negative but that's positive? That means they're equivalent to each other and they're the same. So what would you have done? Would you have factored out the negative or the positive?
Negative.
I'm positive, but then I switched it.
But you'd still been wrong. Does that make any sense? Keep on going. All right, let's look at this one. How are we gonna group this? If I put the 4's together, and what's the greatest common factor over here? Not just H, but
1 and 8.
what? H squared, the smallest exponent. Okay. Put those together. I could have put the K's together and these two together. Tried it that way. It is possible in grouping to pick one method and it not get you anywhere, and pick another method, pick another grouping, and it worked great, you know. Just kind of have to put it in reverse and try another way. Let's try it this way. What would I factor out of these two? You just told me. A 4. What would you factor out of these two? Be careful.
H squared,
Positive or negative?
positive. Wait. No.
When you get your answer in parentheses, you want it to be positive H minus K.
Should do it by negative? So you can
It would
change-
work better.
So it'll change.
Because I'm gonna show you. If you'd have factored out don't write this down. If you'd have factored out a positive H squared, I'd have a what?
Negative 8.
A negative H and a positive K. Is that what I want?
No.
When I see that happen, I just back up. Sometimes with factoring, you use more eraser than you do pencil. If I factor out a negative H squared, H to the third divided by H squared is positive H. Negative divided by negative is positive. And then positive divided by negative is negative. Question? We're not finished.
Where's your K become
We're nowhere near finished. How did my K become negative? Positive divided by negative. Got different signs. You have to, it's so easy to get mixed up on these because of signs and little things. All right, now, remember the first problem we did today? Look like that. What's common to both of these? H minus K. You can put that dummy variable in there. You know, I don't know if you'd see it, but all these variables on there or not. But I'm going to factor out an H minus K. Or if you're able to see, wait, I got 4 of them. I've got negative H squared of them. Put them together. You know, you might can see it that way. But if I don't, then I'm going to factor that out and I'm going to be left with a 4 and a negative H squared. All right, now I'm not finished yet because there's one more thing we already know about. But let me ask you a question. Are y'all lost up to here? You really am? Okay, let's back up.
I'm kind of confused just on that part that you just said.
Okay.
How did you know to bring
Are
that?
you good down to this part right here? Are you good down to this? No?
I think so. Like if I started working one, I could probably do it.
Okay, if I group, how do I know to use grouping? Because I've got what? 4 or more terms, okay? So if I put these two together, I've got a 4 in common. If I put these two together, I've got an H to the smallest exponent in common. I factored out a positive. I saw I was not going to get where I wanted to go because I want these to match. If they don't, I did something wrong. So I backed up. I factored out a negative H squared. Fixed my problem because this looks like that. You know, I've got H minus K and H minus K. All right, so here's where we lost people. This is a term and this is a term. What's common to here and to here? H minus K. So just like yesterday, I might have had a 4x or a 2x in common. Now I've got an H minus K. Okay? So I factored out the H minus K out of this side and out of this side, and I put my greatest common factor right there, just like yesterday. And when those canceled, I was left with a 4, and when those canceled, I was left with a negative H squared.
Okay, so like yesterday where we had like 3 and then parentheses.
Yeah.
That's what.
Today, my
that
greatest
another
common
parentheses
factor is not a monomial, but a binomial.
Okay, I don't know.
Great. Everybody else on the train with him, I hope? This is hard. This is probably the hardest kind of factor we're going to talk about. All right, now, there's something else I want you to see. Who can tell me how to classify 4 minus H squared? We've learned some vocabulary earlier in the chapter. It is a quadratic binomial, but I mean, I taught you some special cases.
The difference of perfect squares.
It's not a perfect square trinomial because it's only got 2
Perfect
terms.
square
That's a good thought. It's a what?
Difference of perfect squares. or-
It's a difference of 2 squares.
That's it. 2
All right,
squares.
it's dots. Okay? Now, how do you get from, when you were multiplying, how did you get to dots? What did you have? C.
Conjugate.
Conjugates. So now, remember, we're putting this in reverse, right? Now when I factor difference of two squares, what am I going to get for my answer? Conjugates. Let's bring this dude down. I'm going to have conjugates. One of them's going to be positive, one of them's going to be negative. Does it matter which order I write them down? No. Alright, here's how you decide what the conjugates are. What do you square to give you 4? 2. What do you square to give you h squared?
H.
This is my final, fully, completely factored answer. I did grouping up here. This was grouping up here. Then I did greatest common factor here. And then I did difference of two squares here. Label it so you can go back and see it. When you finish with that, put your pencil down. Alright, now, let's look at this. Break it down one more time. How did I know to use grouping? 4 terms, 4 or more terms, okay. To do grouping, I have to pair them together. And so I paired these two and these two together, okay. And out of these two, I had a greatest common factor of 4. So I factored it out. Up here, I had an h squared. Didn't really know whether to do positive or negative, so I just played with it, tried to see what I could do, okay? Y'all have only done 3 of these in your life, so you couldn't foresee what was about to happen yet. So we factored out a positive, and it was exactly opposite of what I needed. So we went back and we factored out a negative h squared. There it is. Whatever's under here, guys, goes here. Whatever's under here goes here, right? So I factored out my negative h squared, and when I divided the bases, I subtracted the exponents, and a negative divided by a negative was a positive h to the first, and a positive divided by a negative was a negative k because those h squareds canceled. Are we good to right here?
Yes.
Alright then, I saw what I was doing yesterday. If this is a term and this is a term, what's common to both of them? H minus k. Okay, well, better factor that out. So I factor h minus k. Remember, whatever's under here, just like up there, you know, whatever's under here goes out front. And to be honest, that's what people miss. They'll say, well, I factored out. Well, where did it go? It didn't just go away. It's got to be part of your answer. So whatever's under here goes out there. And then when this canceled, I was left with a 4. And when this canceled, I was left with a negative h squared. But since I already knew my vocabulary, and I knew that this was the difference of 2 perfect squares, the difference of 2 squares always gives me conjugates. Because when we were multiplying, I was going the other way. To do conjugates, you know, first of all, they're going to be exactly the same except for their middle signs. And you ask yourself, what do you square to give you 4? What do you square to give you 8 squared? Write it down. But all along, don't forget to bring this down because that's part of the answer. I think we should do some more. All right. Uh-oh. Wrong button. All right, let's look at this one. I want you just to see what you could do. I want you to see if you can do it, and then we're going to use more eraser than we do pencil, and that's okay, okay? Is this one messing everything up?
Yeah.
Because I really want a j minus 2. And so what should I factor out of here?
-1.
What's that going to make this?
Positive.
A positive 6.
So you use
All right, you try this on your paper. See, it's just like if I let A equal j minus 2. I'd have 11a plus 6a plus 2a. What would I do? Combine like terms, add them all up. So 11A plus 6A, 17, 18, 19A. The same thing's true over here. I've got 11 of them, I've got 6 of them, I've got 2 of them, so in all I have 19 of them. If you didn't see that, you say, I'm going to factor out a J minus 2. Out of here, out of here, out of here. Then you'd have 11 plus 6 plus 2. But you'd have to have this as part of it because that's the greatest common factor. And when you combined all of them together, you'd still have a 19, which, again, I'd rather write it with my number first. So it really just depends on your perspective. You know, I see like terms, I'm going to combine, or I see greatest common factor, I'm factoring, I'm going to factor out that greatest common factor. But the key was this right up here, wasn't it? We had to do that first. Just like Dylan's problem when we did the bell ringer today, you had to fix your common terms, right? You had to make them go together. Well, I gotta make these be able to go together too, right? And lost. Alright, would you try this one? Are you gonna put the 10s together and the 12s together? Or the A's together and the B's together? Depends on how you look at it. I would probably look at it like that, but you look at it however you want to. Always like to pick the hard way first. Some of y'all have done it a much easier way. But if I factor a 10 out of here, and if I factor a negative 12 out of here, and remember that sign's got to go here, then that's going to give me a positive A and a negative B. And if I pull out an A minus B, I've got a 10 minus 12, which is a negative 2. Okay? Now, a lot of people said, I don't see it that way. I see it this way. I see that I'm going to combine like terms. I see that I'm going to factor out maybe a negative 2. Or maybe I'm going to factor out a positive 2. And either of those answers is just as good as this one, right? These are the same. And that one, as long as every sign is different, you're good. Did y'all get it? Which way did you go?
The hard way.
This last way?
I did it that way.
Did it first way? However you see it. What's your perspective? But just try to keep being consistent, you know, doing it the way you got it. All right, try this one. Try this one. Some of you that are combining like terms, if you put your R's and S's together, that would be 21R minus 21S. Factor out of 21, which is common. I'll give you R minus S. Alright. If I factor the 13s together, that's R minus S. Did you factor out a positive 8 or a negative 8? Positive. Did you put positive right there? In between?
No, man.
Don't forget, whatever you factor out, that's important. So that's going to give me the negative S and the positive R, which is what I wanted. I mean, that's exactly, it's just written differently. I can fix that problem. And so what's common to those?
R minus S.
R minus S. And that leaves me with a 13 plus 8, which is 21, isn't it? Uh-oh, I wrote 12. 21. You can put that 21 at the end if you want to.
I don't know how I messed up, but I did something. I got like -8 S plus R. And then,
When you factor, in this step right here,
just a minute.
you had a positive or negative 8.
I had a -8.
That's where you messed up. You don't just always change it. You look to say, what do I want? Am I gonna get it? If I'm gonna get the opposite, then I'll make it negative, you know? Or I'll change its sign. Okay, let's look at this one. Now I need to be asking you this question every time you look at a problem. Is there a single greatest common factor for this problem?
No.
No. There's 4 terms, so that's how I know to do grouping. I'm going to put those together and those together and see what happens. What would you factor out of these two?
T.
T. What would you factor out of these two? Positive or negative? Well, positive. Everything's positive. Isn't it? I love it when everything's positive. That's great. What's going to go in these parentheses? 3R plus S. Good. Same thing over here?
Yes.
What is common here and here? I did that on purpose. Hey, if what's here and here are not like terms, something is wrong. Back up. Go again, because that's the whole point of this. So I'm going to factor out a 3R plus S, and I'm going to be left with T plus W. That's the answer. On the last test, how do you solve it if you are multiplying 2 binomials? What method did we use? Full. If I full, guess what I get back? The problem. I can check that and see. What if, on the other hand, somebody saw those go together?
That's what I did.
Okay. What did you factor out of here?
A 3.
Did you get an R
A
too?
3R, yes.
Mm-hmm. What about over here?
S.
Positive S. When these cancel, I'll get a T. When these cancel, I have a plus W. When these S's cancel, I'll get a T. When those do, I'll get a W. Guess what? They're the same. Alright. So I factor out a T plus W. And when those cancel, there's my 3R plus S. It's the same answer, isn't it? Doesn't the commutative property of multiplication say I'm multiplying in the order? Right? Turn around. A times B equals B times A. It's all what you see when you see it at the first, whatever clicks with you, that's what you need to go with. Now, what if that just sometimes one method gets you nowhere? Don't say, oh, this must be prime, it's not factorable. At least try to see if there's something else that's common. Alright, why don't you try that one? See how far you get. Did anybody switch it, or did you keep it like this?
So,
I can't.
Y'all kept it? Alright, if I factor an A out of here, and a 3B over here. Now if I just do a B, I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to use Cole for example, just a second here. Because we will all either do this or have done this. Over here I'm going to get the correct answer. Over here, I'm not going to get the same thing I had here. But here's how you know what to do. If you can look inside these parentheses and still see a greatest common factor, then you know there was more to pull out. Does that make sense? Like there was more than just the B And everybody will do that at some point. So when you look inside the parentheses and you see, oh, wait a minute now, I still got a greater common factor. That just means use your eraser and back it up. So I need a 3 here, and a 3 here, and a 3B here. So that C minus A is still good. And over here, I'm going to get, or C minus 2, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, that's a 2. I'm still going to get the same thing over here. I bet you're not the only one that did it today.
Yeah, I did that.
I didn't know it back.
And then I heard
I just
it was
reduced
3B. I was like,
I
oh,
seen
that's
this.
what it is.
You could reduce it,
Yeah.
do the same.
Yeah, but if it will reduce, then go back, fix it up front, fix it up top. All right, so C minus 2, A plus 3B. Good deal. Y'all are doing great. Usually, at this point, everybody's frustrated and they don't know what to do. They're mad at me.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
I'm mad.
Are you mad at me?
No, ma'am, I'm just kidding. We love you.
I mean, usually people are like, it's my fault. Why- It's just grouping. It's just tough, okay? All right, y'all are doing so well. Try this one. You're doing so well. Keep going.
Okay.
Rewrite them. What's the one thing you see that's wrong? It's a tiny detail, but it's important.
Everything's flipped.
Where?
Why?
You factor out a positive X. See, that looks like everything's just multiplied together. But really these terms are separate. So you gotta separate them with a plus or minus sign. And so when those canceled out, who did it differently?
Mine's reversed.
Did you get X or Y plus X or X plus Y times Z plus X? Did you get the same answer but in a different
I really don't know
order?
how I did it. I just threw stuff together.
Who paired them up differently?
Me.
Wait, no.
You did and you did and you did? One of y'all went to market?
Probably.
Okay.
I'll have to attribute.
I'm gonna recopy the phone. And then you can fix it. Okay, recopy it for us. Put them together.
Quit.
Just solve it for me.
Do what?
Could just work it out.
Recopy it first. Put x squared plus xy
Oh, I
plus
didn't do
zy
that.
plus zx.
See, that's right. I didn't do that.
Try to put your eyes back in your head too.
Maybe we should let him volunteer.
X squared plus xy plus zy plus zx. The point is, there's always, with these, there could be more than one way. So when it's, let's say you're comparing your paper to somebody, and I don't mean copying their homework, but when you're comparing your paper to somebody and say, wait a minute, my answer's backwards from yours, you may both be right. Okay? You may also both be wrong, but you may both be right. That's a possibility.
Doing the same thing, no.
It is the same thing. Oh, keep going though. Factor out of x plus y.
Factor out of what?
X plus y.
Oh, I'm not doing now. Okay.
Okay, I was gonna say you brought your paper up there
Yeah,
for
I got
moral
you.
support, I guess.
That's what
So
I'm doing.
look at
I
it.
just-
Factor out of x plus y.
Okay, I got you now.
Put your x plus y in first in the front of that, because that's your greatest common factor. Maybe you did it that way. Okay. Very, very good. Does anybody have a question? Do y'all see how we're twinning today? Did y'all see
Girl,
that?
look like letters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And shoes.
Pants.
Plants. It's great. It's amazing. All right. Try this one also.
I remember that next time we had next time you.
Not really.
It's great. I don't know how to get through today.
Ball game.
I don't have practice. It's only for an hour. Do you feel like I do? Have some. Do you have vision? Yeah, letters. I have food.
Let me remind you that we're recording. We're recording.
These are good.
What are these? Can you tell me what?
Recording.
Have honey and cherry. What's honey?
Very good.
You guys agree? Do you not know? Y'all don't know if you do?
I need a play-by-play.
Play by play. All right.
Clusters.
I think he factored a 3B out of here, which left with 5A, and a 3B out of here, which was a 3C, and a 4C out of here, which was a 5A, and negative 12 divided by 4, negative 3, C squared divided by CC. And then out of here, he factored out a 5A minus 3C. Put his greatest common factor here. You guys agree?
Can we have another practice round?
I think we have. Sure, what do we have?
We got one more.
We got one more?
Miss Green, I had a, oh.
Alright, here we go.
Miss Green, that's all I know.
Did you bring me some?
I thought about it, and then I forgot.
I didn't even think about it. I completely forgot it.
I wonder what song I have this round. So I can. That's what I did.
That's good. You factor out a negative with that since they're both negative. That's a good job. Anything divided by itself is 1. Y'all didn't just mark it out and say, whoop, doesn't say it,
I
right?
thought about it, but I
So anything divided by itself is 1. You can make that go up so you don't have to stand on your head.
Sorry. Scrape my
Freaking
nose
door
too.
that way.
Anything else? All right, do you guys agree? Right. One or two things is gonna happen. You guys are gonna come with your homework tomorrow and everything's understood, and everything was great, and we got it, or y'all be like, I understood it yesterday.
What
Where
homework?
is
Yeah, what homework?
I'm
Wait a minute,
probably
think
gonna
about
like
that.
freak out tonight. Not know.
I can't read that.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's not many.
Don't worry, it's in your packet.
Duke,
I
you
can't
do
read
one.
that. I can't read.